Welcome to Parenting Unscripted here on Wavy Plus. I am your host, Katie Collett. This is just after Mother's Day, so I thought, who better a guest to have on this show with me today than my own mom? Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Marty Collett. Hi, Mama. Welcome to the show. Don't be shy now. You're the one who taught me really how to talk anyway. How you feeling?
A little nervous.
That is understandable. This woman has had me on stage, lecturing in church, and often telling me to be quiet so many times in my life, right, Mom? But
Yes.
this is payback now. I absolutely love it. I'm so glad you're here. I want to kick things off by giving people a little bit of a, history of you. You have 3 daughters, 3 sons-in-law, 5 grandkids. Will and I, of course, are the odd people out, one and doners. So we gave you that odd number there. And you have one heck of an excellent husband. What a life you've made for yourself.
A wonderful life.
Yeah,
great.
Yeah, we have a super fun family. Before we get into a deep dive about parenting and our family life, I love for people to hear about your background because it is not the typical background growing up. So can you share with our viewers a little bit about where you grew up and what life was like for you there?
I lived a wonderful life growing up. I was born and raised in the Canal Zone in the Republic of Panama in Central America. The United States government was there with the Panama Canal. Both of my parents worked as civilians for the Army. It was a magical life. I mean, just imagine great weather all year long and just tropical paradise.
Oh.
Water everywhere and great food. The Panamanian food was wonderful. Fresh fish all the time. It was paradise on earth. And it was a wonderful time growing up.
I love the stories that you have told there so many times about your time in Panama. So let's reflect for a minute on life there. Growing up with Grandma and Grandpa, you had 2 older brothers. You are the baby of 3. When Grandma and Grandpa were parenting you in the Canal Zone, you had a lot of opportunities to be adventurous there. Did they encourage you to be adventurous?
They did. Those were totally different times too, where parents didn't worry about children being out till dark, and we didn't have cell phones. They had no idea where we were. I mean, in the summertime, my neighbor friend and I would jump on a bus, which was free, and we'd ride all over the Canal Zone. We'd jump off at the Navy base and go in the commissary, and we'd go to get a milkshake. We'd jump back on the bus, go across the canal over to another fort, and we might get off and get a burger and get back on the bus. And our parents were both working. They had no idea where they are, but we were always safe. That was the life back then when I was growing up. It was fun. We had a great time, and we knew when the lights came on, it was time to run home and join the family again. It was great.
Time to get back there maybe for dinner or something.
Yes.
You've told stories about racing Jeeps in the rainforest or in the jungles.
Yes, I met a young guy who had a CJ5 Jeep, and we went with a caravan of Jeeps and people into the jungles. We made our own bridges. We used winches to get us out of landslides, and we listened to the howler monkeys at night as we were around campfires or just visiting with friends at nighttime. And then I also was in a mud run, and I won a trophy because I was great pedal to the metal. I mean, it was fun.
And now you have something in your car that tells you to drive slowly for your car insurance.
Yes, we do. We lovingly call it Sister Mary State Farm.
Yep.
So I know to stay within the speed limit now.
You got that all out of your system when you were a kid, right?
I sure did.
Yeah.
Yes.
I really should have used those moments growing up, though, to say, hey, Mom, I got a speeding ticket. But remember when you were a kid?
Yes.
Man, I missed those opportunities. Would you say that Grandma and Grandpa were, because they were not strict with us, but I know they were a little different with you, right?
Yes, very differently, especially my father. We lived in a foreign country. Obviously, it was a territory of the United States government, but my dad was always very strict about us behaving for fear that if we did anything wrong, they could send us out. They could ship us back to the States. So
Right.
we were very careful to, walk the line a long time because some of our neighbors, one in particular, I remember, they were there with it one day and gone the next.
Mm,
So you're representing the United States of America. You had to behave.
yeah. I mean, that makes sense. Did you have anything as you got older and realized that you were about to become a parent? Were there any parenting techniques of grandmas or grandpas that you tucked away and thought, I hope to be able to do that with my kids?
Well, both of my parents being working parents, I learned that you can juggle both being a working mom and also being a mom at home to three children. My mom and dad had three kids as well. So I knew it could be done. And my mom was super organized. She was
Yeah.
super busy and she just did everything well. So I had a really good role model. I don't know if I could say that I was up at her level, but I had a great role model. Both of my parents were great parents and
Mhm.
very good role models.
Yeah. I think grandma and grandpa would be pretty darn proud. I know they were. They've even said so whenever we were growing up with them in Pennsylvania. So I know that they'd be very pleased with everything. We're going to continue this conversation because next you're going to be able to give the viewers the skinny on what it was like to parent myself. She lived to tell the tale though, but parent me and parent my two older sisters, Kelly and Christy, because I'm the baby of three. And I honestly think that you and dad are automatic angels in heaven. It's automatic sainthood when you parent three children, because I'm doing it for one and I still call this woman right here on the screen for advice. Thank goodness you're here with me, Mom. I'll tell you what. So, we're going to talk a little bit more about parenting right after this break. I hope you stay with us. Welcome back to Parenting Unscripted. I am your host, Katie Collett, and I'm super excited today because on this Mother's Day episode, I know it's Tuesday morning, but on this Mother's Day episode, the Tuesday after Mother's Day, look who I have. That is my own mom. Hi, Mama.
Hi,
Welcome
Katie.
back to Parenting Unscripted. Now we're going to get into the nitty gritty, the stuff that the people really want to know. What it was like raising myself and my two older sisters. How old were you? Well, I know, but let the viewers know, how old were you when you had Kelly, my oldest sister?
Believe it or not, I was 21, just a baby myself.
Yes. What was it like to be 21 years old and having a newborn?
I was fortunate that at the time my mom and dad were living with us because they were building a home in the area. So for the first year of Kelly's life, I had my mom and dad right in the house with me. So
Mhm.
it was wonderful that I could go to work and come back knowing that she was in the best of hands. It was different once my mom and dad moved out, and I would have to bundle her up. Now we lived in the winter time, when in cold weather a lot of
Yeah,
times, so
Pennsylvania.
I had to bundle her up, drive her to my mom and dad's, which is the opposite direction, turn around, and go to work. So it was a lot with at the time your dad worked shift work, and so I was on my own a lot
Yeah.
because of his shift work. So it was a lot, but
Yeah.
it was fun.
I always loved, though, hearing you and dad talk about taking Kelly everywhere.
We did.
I would say why. I mean, she's your child. But, even if it was a party with your friends, you always had her around adults. Why was that so important to you?
Well, she was our beloved daughter,
Hmm.
and our friends were young. We were all having children about the same time, so we'd all take our children there, and they would play with the other young children. And believe it or not, I'd lay her down on the bed and check on her and make sure she was okay, or put her somewhere safe. When it was time for her to take a nap or whatever, and she just loved it, and then when it would take her shopping, she talked to everybody.
Yeah.
I would put her on the counter to pay for something, and she'd just chat away to people. She talked early, and people just loved to chat with her, and she loved to chat right back.
I think our viewers might be noticing a trend with the
Yes.
chattiness in our family. Our poor middle sister, Christy, did not stand a chance
No.
when it came to talking. She was basically mute, but that was simply because my oldest sister and I talked right over her. What was it like for you, Mom, to go from one to two and then three? Was it easier with just one, or did you find it actually was easier with two or three?
Well, having one, that's easier at the time. I could just pick her up and go, and I'd have her and the bag on one thing. Well, when I had Christy, I had obviously two, so I could put Kelly in the cart and hold on, have Christy strapped to me.
Yeah.
But when I had three, I had a rambunctious Kelly who didn't have a scared bone in her body. I would have Christy in the cart and you strapped to me. And that was challenging because I would have to shop on my own because I said my Bob at the time worked shift work. So on a Friday night, I was putting, the checks in the bank. I was going to get the groceries, and I had all three girls with me. So it was challenging, but it was still fun. I mean,
Yeah.
I look back on a lot of funny things that happened, and you just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there a moment that you were like, "Oh, wait a minute, I have this parenting thing down pat"?
I don't know if I could ever have said that, especially the times that I would get a call, Mom, did you forget
Oh,
something? And
did you forget me?
no, I was forgetting your sister all the time. Because I would stay after work and I would get involved in things, and I would go home and I'm like, uh-oh, where's Christy?
She's still at school.
Yes.
We would
So
always do the collect calls where when it was time to give your name, we would say, "Practice is done, come pick me up." And then you would deny the call and hang up.
yes.
That was always super fun. Growing up too in our family, we always joke around that we say that we would celebrate a sneeze because we had both sets of grandparents with us. We had all of our aunts. We say aunts, but aunts here. So all of our aunts and uncles and cousins, and we were together all the time for birthdays, for holidays, just because. Why do you feel that that is so important for kids and family to do if they live together, to just try to be together?
Well, let me give a little background on that. I grew up in Panama and I had no grandparents, no cousins, no aunts, uncles. And there was a time in our life where we thought we would have to move for your dad's job.
Mhm.
And we talked a lot about it. And I knew where we were living. You had both sets of grandparents, cousins, aunts, uncles that
Yeah.
I never experienced that. So we just decided that we were going to make sure that you had that to experience, and it was the best decision of our life.
Oh, yeah.
We had, like you said, you sneezed, we had a party. I mean, and we would have 20, 30 people. And the family got bigger and bigger.
Mhm.
And we just set up more card tables or set up more tables,
Yes.
and it was wonderful. I didn't regret for a second staying there so all of us could be together. It was wonderful. We celebrated everybody's accomplishments, and we held on tightly when we had losses.
Yeah.
So it was the best.
It really was. In about a minute, are you able to share some advice? Growing up, we didn't have a ton of money. We did not have a lot, but we certainly had each other. So, Christmas, birthdays, what advice do you have? Because you always made them feel special for us, even though we didn't have a ton. What advice do you give to parents nowadays to just try and make those special if they're right now just trying to make ends meet?
Well, a lot of it is not about the gifts and the money. A lot about it
Yeah.
is the experience. So I made and decorated cakes, and of course, again, like we said earlier, aunts and uncles and cousins and everyone came over. So, the aunts, uncles, they gave you gifts as well as what we did.
Mhm.
Yeah, we didn't have a lot of money, but the experience is what we had, and the fun with the family is what we had.
And that's really what you remember. I mean, I
Hmm.
remember hanging out with everyone, having a blast, the laughter, the songs, just the jokes that we would all tell that we're not going to tell them here, but the games we would play. And that's what I remember. It's not like there's a gift or anything that really stands out. It was just kind of the gift of family, which is awesome.
The best.
Yeah, the absolute best. After this break, we are going to talk about going from mom to Grammy. And I love that transformation for my mom because she has certainly embraced it. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Parenting Unscripted. I am your host, Katie Collett. My wonderful guest, my sweet mama, Marty Collett. Hello again, Mom.
Hello.
Thank you for sticking with us for this final segment, which I think is so very important. We are talking about going from mom to Grammy. And that is a role I think you have embraced like a champion. So before we get to actually becoming a grandmother, though, what was it like for you to watch your own babies, your own daughters become mothers?
It was amazing. I mean, it was so fun to go through the experience with them and help them with morning sickness or swelling or back pain and things like that. Because we all, as women, went through that.
Mm-hmm.
And then being handed that beautiful, wonderful bundle of baby, it was just amazing.
What was it like for you to be handed Blake, our very first nephew, the first boy in a long time in our family?
Right. He was the first grandchild on both sides of the family for Billy and for Kelly. So this was amazing. And Kelly, unfortunately, had a really rough time with Blake. So it was hours and hours and hours. So I was
A rough time in labor with him.
yes,
Yeah.
I was really nervous, beside myself. And when she came out by herself and all that, I remember just crying and hugging her. And she doesn't remember any of
Yeah,
it,
she was out of it.
but I was just so glad. And then when we were handed Blake, it was just amazing. He was beautiful and
Yes.
perfect in every way.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
And we were that family in the waiting room. We were playing cards. Because we were there for a really long time. We slept in the
Yes.
waiting room. We were so excited. And oh my gosh, cutest, best cheeks. Just the best cheeks. So, Mom, you are Grammy to your grandkids. How did that name come about?
Well, I guess because I really didn't know or have grandparents as such, because I only saw my one set of grandparents twice in my life that I remember. I took the word grandma and I thought, what an honor to be called grandma, but I wanted it to be a little shorter and a little fun. So I just embraced Grammy.
Yeah.
And, there were a lot of other cute and wonderful names out there, but Grammy just stuck with me. I thought it was warm.
Yeah, I agree. I like it.
Mhm.
There's just something about it.
Right.
What was it like to have the birth of your first child to the birth of your grandson? Was it a different feeling for you, or what is that like?
Now, are you talking about Blake again?
Blake, yeah. So
Blake.
the birth of Kelly to the birth of
Yeah.
your first child to the birth of your first grandchild.
It was a little nerve-wracking at the beginning because, I knew what I went through and I was seeing what Kelly was going through. But, when I held him and realized Kelly was fine and I was, Blake, of course, was fine.
Yeah.
It was great. It was fun. I could cuddle him and just love on him. So it was wonderful.
So you were used to raising girls. Now, granted, you were a teacher for what, 36 years?
36 years.
36 years. So, I mean, you're a pro with children, obviously, boys and girls, but you raised 3 girls and then you have a grandson, and all of the grandparents in our family had always been so involved. You were very involved with Blake. Did you notice a big difference between parenting girls and then parenting a boy?
Absolutely. I got squirted in the face how many times. I learned as you change a diaper, a little boy, cover up. Because if not, it could be a little wet.
Yeah, that is. I remember that. So when I had my son, Liam, I was able to, do the cover up there. And I felt like I had tricked the world because I distinctly remember witnessing that happen with Blake. So I can see, how that would be just a little different there, Mom. So over the years, you ended up with 5 grandchildren. You have 3 boys and 2 girls. You've always been really adventurous, as we know from your time in Panama. But then, I mean, you've always been a really fun parent. You've taken us on trips, we've camping, we've done all kinds of things. What have some of your favorite things been to do adventurous wise with your own grandkids?
Well, we like to bike ride and do things like that. But I think the one thing that stands out in my mind is being a retired science teacher. I taught sixth grade science. I loved the activities that science, gives to children.
Yeah.
So I loved doing the volcanoes. I mean, getting the clay and making the mold and letting it all explode, seeing their face. And so I really enjoyed the little science sides that we took.
Hmm.
But, with the kids too coming to the beach and swimming, it was just fun. I mean,
Yeah, we've do so many fun things together. I do always like to see the excitement on the kids' faces whenever you do the volcano. And I
yeah,
love having both parents who are so involved in teaching science and the projects that you can do. It's really just kind of getting them involved. They don't even know they're learning,
right,
and they're
right.
always learning. What would you say is the hardest part about being a grandparent?
Stepping back and letting my children who really know the best for their
Yeah.
child and be quiet. They're working it out, and I try to let them ask my opinion before I
Yeah.
give it. It's
You
their
I
child.
listen, I will say you are very, very good at that almost, and I say this lovingly, almost annoyingly so. Just the other day, my mom and I were having a conversation, and what did I say to you? There was silence on the phone, and I said, "Mom, I want your opinion. I'm asking you for your opinion." And you said, "I'm so glad you said that. This is my opinion." And she started. But I'm so grateful that you are willing to kind of take that step back and let us figure it out until we ask for your help. Because I do think that we need to learn how to be parents on our own, but we're all
Right.
still honestly kind of modeling after what you and dad did because you did give us a really, really great childhood. So thank you for that, Mom. What would you say is the best part about being a grandparent?
Oh my. What I love is being able to go back in time and appreciate things that being older I overlook.
Mhm.
And when you're with a little one, like when Blake was little, he used to say shrog
Yes.
for frog. And he used to have the cutest little expressions of things. And through all of the children with Braden and Riley and Brooke and Leah, I've been able to go back in time and see things through children's eyes.
Yeah.
And it just brings the joy back into life.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's amazing. They remind you the magic of grass and of swinging, and it's just so fun.
It is. It really is.
And thank you, Mom, for joining me on this episode of Parenting Unscripted. You did a fantastic job.
Oh,
She was a
thank
little nervous,
you.
but you were fabulous, Mama. I'm going to have you back on the show for sure because I know our viewers enjoyed. And everyone, please remember you can watch new episodes of Parenting Unscripted every Tuesday right here on Wavy Plus starting at 9 o'clock in the morning. Happy Mother's Day to all of the moms, all the caretakers, all the aunties, everyone out there. Know that we love you, we support you, and I really hope you enjoyed this episode of Parenting Unscripted again with my beautiful mother. I hope you have a wonderful day.